Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the match of the day. It's Team BDS versus Natos Vincere. And we talked about this earlier in the pre-show, so if there's some details that you missed, you can go through on there. But let's have a chat about these two teams. First up, Na'Vi are challengers here, fresh. The UK squad that looks to do more than just a group stage finish at the major and winning a national.
Yeah, and I think they want to progress on. They've clearly had a good run. They've got themselves to a major. Disappointing results. Want to progress on, make the next major.
Yep.
Their results have been topsy-turvy. They've got wins, but some of them have been close. You think back to that secret game. 6-1 up, 7-5. Very close. They've got all of the ability in the world. They've got a good support base. They've got probably the best striker in the world, in my opinion. I'm biased, Indoki. But they're not putting in the professional performances that I want to see them putting in. I want to see them putting in, you know, the secret game, for example. That should have been a 7-2, 7-3 match.
Yeah.
Never should get that close way thinking about overtime. The Kavana game should have just been a straight-up win. And that's where I want to see them improve. I want to see them, you know, they've got a big test today in BDS.
Yep.
I want to see them turn up and really go for it.
They've got a good roster behind them. I will say, however, someone that's been not quite quiet, but someone that we expected to do extraordinarily well after some good stages was Blur. Blur was always topping the charts in the top leaderboards for cost. He still is one of the top 5, maybe after the matches today, not so much, but we'll see whether or not this game boosts him back up into that leaderboard, because he does seem to be the dark horse of the game and he's a difference maker, but he's not making the kind of differences we saw maybe last stage and so on.
Yeah, I think a lot of his cost this season is actually coming from survival, right? So if anything, I'd like his cost to go down.
Yep.
Get him in some more engagements. Let him be the difference maker.
Sure.
Don't be afraid of Blair dying, because a lot of the time he's left alone in those 1v2, 1v3s once his team has fallen around him.
On the other side, it's BDS Esport.
Yeah.
They said themselves, hey, does it matter if we're number 1 in EU or not on the table? We always show up. We always are there. We're always there at any major, any event we're at for the region. So, Jess, will it be yet another day for BDS?
Well, I mean, they're currently top of the leaderboard over the entire season. They have 49 points, which differs from, you know, Na'Vi's 45, but that is very close contention. If you think Na'Vi wins regulation today, well, that puts them in very tight contention. But again, that doesn't change anything. It still puts them in the Pro League finals nevertheless. So they don't really need to be worried about this matchup per se. But I do think if you're looking at the overall standings for this stage as a whole, and you go, okay, where does everyone sit? Well, I mean, BDS is undefeated. Who's going to hand them that loss other than, of course, that overtime win? Still a win. So I do think that BDS is in a really good position to just keep the train running.
All right, head-to-head. You guys selected one player out of each one of these two teams. We already had one in our pre-show, but we have a second one. Here's a repeat of what we had. It's Bride versus Secretly. And Fresh, you said it a million times so far, but Secretly for you is a big difference maker.
Yeah, and he is. Na'Vi took a risk kind of going back to 2020. They took a young gunner in Joe who worked out okay, I would say. But obviously they put Joe on the substitute bench and they dropped him. They picked up an old head in Secretly, which is a player that I worked with immensely. He enables the rest of his team, and they become so much better for having him, and Na'Vi have become so much better and more consistent. On the kind of same storyline, when BDS picked up Bride, they had that same arc and they became the top team in Europe.
There's really not much to say. We said it in the pre-show, I'll say it now. You need a very strong backline. Both of these teams have got it just to be able to support the very strong front line they've got. Well, these are the men to do it.
Let's see then which map these two and their teammates will have to perform on for this matchup. Again, our match of the day between BDS and Na'Vi. 7 pool, 6 are out, 1 is left. Villa, so close, but we're going to get a clubhouse today.
What?
Again, it's Na'Vi going on the attacking side with BDS sticking defense. Definitely not unexpected, but Jess, you scream what? What's going on?
Out of all of the maps I predicted today, didn't predict Clubhouse. I'm not sure you put
Yeah,
that
I
on
think
your radar.
both teams have a similar map pool that's much more preferential. Both teams like Bank, both teams like Cafe. It was kind of third or fourth down the list if I was thinking, here's a map we're going to. So it's a surprising one. It's maybe one that just both teams have refused to ban it and have ended up on it.
Yeah, maybe it just ended that way. It's very unusual that map bans end that way. I mean, you as an export, me as well, you almost always know After the Kavana loss in OT as well, I would have thought Na'Vi would stray away from it. I'm looking at the 7-1 Vitality dealt them as well. I mean, this is not a good map at all, really, for Na'Vi. So have they changed something drastic? Maybe.
It's been, yeah, like you say, it's not like they've gone out and stomped teams on it.
No.
Even the Kavana game, it was very, very close against Kavana, who are performing well, but hopefully they've changed something. They've got something up the sleeve for it.
Definitely hoping for Na'Vi. If not, BDS look poised to take yet another game and keep the #1 spot fresh. Jess, thank you very much. We're going to go to Clubhouse. Again, Hanover, is it raining or not? Hey, if there's people in Hanover that are watching right now, let us know how the weather is. Hallo, wie geht's dir? Let's take it then to our casters. It's Hap, it's Emmy. Take it away.
Yes, thank you very much, Milos. And we are back with the match of the day. BDS going up against Na'Vi. And in the past stages, these two have been fighting it out for the win, just here and there. But for now, it is going to be BDS that is 4 points clear of Na'Vi. So it would be a good game to start to close the gap here for Na'Vi. But the socials, they don't really seem to agree with that.
No.
No?
I would say
Not at all.
I would say they disagree. If anything, I think they have a strong opinion is that BDS are going to take this. And I think it's fair to have that as an idea. I think it's fair to have that going into this. I think a lot of us predicted BDS over Na'Vi. I don't quite remember, but I think we did. I think this was...
Just looking over to the left to see if most people predicted BDS. Yes,
Some nods,
yes.
some thumbs up.
We have 2 nods.
Clean sweep.
Clean sweep. All right.
Every single one of us predicted, which means that Na'Vi are going to win.
That's exactly Na'Vi won
So we
this
don't need to
game.
watch the
We
game.
don't even need to play the game.
In the words of Milos, we can get this out of the way, or whatever he said about the first game. I don't remember. I remember Des go through the motions. Go through emotions.
Oh, maybe after this game.
Yeah.
You never know.
Cry. But I guess it depends what goes wrong. Not my idea, the Iana ban.
See, we talked about this last week. The Fink is coming out now.
Doki and Shaiko, both of them, I think they are unhappy with the Iana ban. You're going to have a Fink. ...
That's what I'm saying. Like, you know, it happened last week. Yana off the board, the Finka comes out, and Shaiko even more deadly in that case. So, you know, we'll get to see whether or not it was a good idea in the end. But Na'Vi started from the attack themselves first, so maybe Doki will have some fun with the operator first.
It's confident. It's two great players with the current sort of drive of weaponry. It's two players who are more than happy to usually swing into this. Doki's in a good mood, which is a good sign for Na'Vi because he is a driving force.
That's it, right?
Fresh sort of believes him as the best fragger, or one of the best fraggers at the minute in the game, which is fair to say because his stats do recently back that up. He was, once upon a time, plagued by inconsistency, which, to be fair, so was Shaiko. There was a little bit of a period of time where BDS only really had Shaiko to depend on, and as they highlighted and talked about on the desk, because surprisingly, the stuff they say is relevant.
Surprisingly, actually, it's quite accurate as well.
Quite accurate as well, as if they do homework and research these things. BDS found stability with Greeday. Na'Vi are finding the same thing with Secretly.
Yeah, that's for sure. And the one thing yet, though, is like, I think if you would say that currently BDS, Na'Vi, and Empire are the top 3 teams of Europe, I think many of the teams will agree. They might not actually be there in the stage 3 standings right now, but overall, I do feel like they are most consistently right now. And it is kind of weird to say that these iterations of the rosters are all yet to find like the international success they have been looking for, of course. Empire got really close recently. The 6 Invitational. And of course, knocked out BDS as well. So, you know, again, I'm in the major, of course, Mexico major. Also 6 Invitational. Managed to get, you know, up to a certain point, but not far enough. But, you know, they're just trying to find the next major win here for Europe. And I think that these 3 teams, and especially the 2 playing now, have a good opportunity of winning that as Lambs takes down Nave, drops a diffuser and gets a couple of the X-Kairos all the way from the bedroom window. It's not going to be enough to completely stop the gap from opening up, but at least it's a Heartbreacher gone off the board, which will make it a lot harder now.
That's it, an early swing there has landed a little bit of success. And to be fair, something we've seen from BDS a little bit is playing the team in front of them syndrome. It's the repetition of we're only taking this fight to the extremes that it needs to be, but they know that they've got to step into a big fight here against Na'Vi. Although Na'Vi were kind of pretty much torn apart by a fantastic performance of Rogue recently, it's still nothing you can rest on your laurels about. Rafal is trying to find the opening fight and finds it. Doki drops on the other side of the door, locks it out. Shaco suffers a scratch a little bit underneath, but with the two-body advantage is more than happy to play very aggressive around the lounge side.
That's a 2-man advantage now for BDS, and we know they are a consistent enough team to not throw away these advantages just like that. So Na'Vi will have to work really hard for it if they want to get back into this round. Diffuser still needs to be recovered though. They're unsure about the fact whether or not the garage is safe. At least they have the breach, which will provide them a bit of covering fire over the mezzanines onto the rafters. Of course, still Rafal playing there, but he's using that reinforcement to the best of his ability. Just needs to make sure he's not backing up too much there into the corner, because Dan says he's waiting with the LMGE. He's just dancing on the edge right there, dancing on the border, but he's not granting the kill to Na'Vi.
Now, as it starts to, a little bit of pressure here, potentially. Secret's dancing with the idea of a fight, sneaks in and snakes his way past. There it is, the first. Finally found by Na'Vi, but with a minute on and the pressure now starting to be revealed, drops the camera and all of the utility that's across the board here and buys them a little pocket of space. With Blur going to take the fight on lounge underneath, they've been able to clear something. They need to try and make that into something more.
Bit of damage coming down. Shaiko not able to quite land the kill. Jumps up on the Druk table. Spots the sledge opening up. Gets the diffuser yet once more. Blur gets dropped. Tries to go for a bit of a pre-fire there. Na'Vi also knows that he's playing close. And if you go into the other side, it's also being held here by Ilem. Still has a Nitro available. Being tossed over right now. Could be landing quite. There it is. That's the kill. It's only up to saves now in a 1v4 situation. He's not able to find one. Bride picks up the final kill on BDS. Take the lead here at the very first round.
BDS. News alarm. Hey, they announced new staff.
Oh, that's true.
today.
Yeah, BIOS.
It's a very cool video.
It was
Is it BIOS or is it BIOS?
BIOS.
I'm going to say BIOS.
Is it
Like
BIOS?
on a computer.
All right, I'll go with that.
That was like what your motherboard does or has. A BIOS.
A BIOS.
BIOS is in. BIOS is in. They had a very cool announcement video.
I was going to say, you should really watch that video.
They've strengthened their behind-the-scenes staff. And that was always a bit of a conversation with BDS, is because they never strictly had a coach. They have, obviously, Katu
Yep.
doing fantastic work.
Chateau, if you want to do the French original name.
You pronounced it so beautifully.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
They had your country compatriot.
Mace van der Arend.
Uh-huh.
You know, his name...
Yeah, I'm just going to have to trust you on that
Eagle
one.
Mace, yeah, no, but like, so his real name is Mace van der Arend.
Yeah.
And Arend is an eagle. If you translate it, that's where the name comes from.
Okay. Fun fact here on the
Yeah.
desk. And now they have BIOS as well. Now they've shown themselves. What is the role? Is it a specific role, isn't it?
I think it's mental coach.
Mental
mainly.
coach.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And he's also the one currently standing behind the team with a headset on. You just saw it there quickly. You'll probably see that more often when the players get into vision. You'll just see him standing behind them, just seeing if he can interject at any given time using the tactical timing they have, one of them in each map. Takes a minute nowadays, gives opportunity to the coaching staff to talk to the players.
That's it. And he's a player, and he's a name that's been around the game for a very long time. You could put his name to pretty much any of the big French teams, rosters, and players, and he has been in that position. Easy said stuff to me.
Head coach
Head coach.
is what the tweet says.
Head coach.
Yep. Opening being made here, just to try and get a grenade through to, or potentially get a grenade through. That might have been actually to get the anchor point, not quite sure. Just to make sure that they have the good opening later on. As he continues. Bit of a 360 now for the style points right after. There it goes soft.
60 blowtorch as they open up Jacuzzi and try to find somebody on the other side. They're looking for the preamble angles. It's been a minute and we've been talking about a lot of stuff, but that is Club on this sort of approach here. It's kind of obvious to tell when they're going for a standard take, which is a lot of outside build. We didn't have the quick strike from BDS before with the swing out. They didn't want to be punished this time around. And Na'Vi had a more safer approach. There goes the Maestro Cam with a quick swing. The logistics hatch is open, but there's more pressure you want to apply because it's not just a matter of getting that open. It's a matter of making sure that if they try to flee, you have the pinch on either side.
So Doki's currently below on Billiards, has the opportunity to get a grenade up to the top, try and, use that verticality to their advantage. However, we still have a player around that's going to be going for a flank. Gets spotted out, Alems. Just has to try and fall back into a different position, but the bar hatch has been opened up as well, so he might even be able to get a Nitro up into the Billiards area, may be able to pick up Doki as a result. So that is something you should keep in mind for these last 70 seconds as Renshiro quickly trying to make some work of drones. Feels to do so, but does open up a bit of verticality and has potentially spotted someone was in the kitchen just a second ago.
That's it. He was trying to find the angle at first, couldn't quite make it connect, and it is cat and mouse here. Bride goes down, Alems finds Doki through the hatch. You need Blur to get the pick up here, and there it is. Round the backside, they've browned some balance, and with 50 seconds, plenty of time for Blur to pick up and head his way background. Still has frags in pocket too. Oh no, flashes. Even brought the sledge with the flashes, and both secret leads are gone. So at this point, they're just going to see if they can burn their way through. Shaco's holding an aggressive angle behind the gym equipment, hoping and waiting for the drop to come in from the opposite side. They're going to see if they can try and pinch some pressure here on the windows itself. They need Blur to get a bit closer, because without a third bit of pressure, well, it turns into a bit of a scrappy firefight. There it is, a hop in, a hop round, and a drop down. Finds Shaco somehow, as they're able to get the trade-off. Found Nath in the meantime, but Renshiro with a big LMG gets the cutoff on the opposite side. They know exactly where he is, but everybody's blind as they try and find the swing round. But with another trade happening on the other side, suddenly it's Rafal hiding all the way off in construction.
Just hide.
He just needs to get out of there. He just needs to bury himself on the opposite side. It's a loop round, but he's out of time, out of pace, out of place.
Right call made there. Rafal just trying to go for the quick hide there. Able to survive and, of course, win the round as a result. And maybe, just maybe, because you just said the sledge has some flashbangs there, and I was just checking, like that's unheard of. You normally don't have a sledge with flashbangs instead of grenades, but of course they already had them on the Maverick, they already had them on the Finca. If you bring 6 grenades, you might lack utility on which you can try and clear the ADSs with, the magnets with, or the serial laser gates. All kinds of utility you need to get rid of before you want to get those nades in. And of course, as well, the new flashes allow you to more accurately or more consistently flash your opponent, which makes it a bit easier in these duels. So maybe 4 grenades is enough for Na'Vi, and thus they decided to go with the flashbangs on the sledge. And maybe it was a mistake, and we see it swapped out now on the side of Blur. We don't know. We shall see.
Now, one thing that we sort of got a taste of in that previous round is the information game from these two teams, is how exceptionally they were on top of each other. They knew, obviously, about the player that was underneath. They knew exactly where Doki was. They had a rough idea on when the approach came through on the kitchen hatch and tried to play a game based on the information and where each other's were. These are two teams that are very good at that game. And because of that, you expect to, I guess, we'll get the full taste when Na'Vi's on their defense if they try and cut that out of BDS, but it's a tough game when both the teams push so heavily into that rather than push into the denial side of that intel.
Yeah, that's for sure. Using everything you get, it's like a chess at that point, like you're trying to set up traps, trying to catch them off guard. Sterny would be all over that one. He loves challenging everybody in the Siege community for it. Either way, BDS currently 2 rounds up. Na'Vi on the attack now towards the basement, the tertiary side of BDS. There's a bunch of barbed wire that needs to be cleared, a bunch of utility, of course, they need to fight through, and thus the oil pit drop, not really an option. You're basically stuck once you do, so you want to avoid that at all costs. There's Doki now, descending these main stairs, looking to find an opening pit. Gets spotted out, though. Deals a lot of damage. Actually, doesn't barely deal any damage to Renshiro. Once he almost goes down himself.
Yeah, Renshiro slipped away there. It looked like he'd suffer a little bit more, but I guess it's one of those things where you're taking a swing from that angle, and at that point, they're already just around the corner of that moto wall now as they stretch themselves out, open their rotations. They've been able to put some of the pressure down that main stairs side. They're going to keep the drones and the intel there at that point, but the zaps from Alems are terrifying. So Doki steadily got himself up to more and more health as that sort of found its way through. The healer working away as they steady and try to set up some angles here for the approach down onto Moto. They've pushed the Maestro back.
So they've used all 3 Adrenaline Surges just to get Doki back up from 10 HP to about 70 HP. I'm not sure if that will be the right call in the end. We shall see. Of course, no smoke on the board, so it might be actually beneficial if you would have used it. And the actual take is Shaku gets the first entry frag onto Doki. So he wasn't going to be able to use them at any later point anyway. Grenades are being tossed in now. Secretly trying to get the kill there, but Shaiko already long gone. Did take care of the ADS, so a saves, picks up a very important kill onto Renshiro.
Yeah, just via the Moto hatch there, was able to get him on the wide and the droned in so they can drop themselves a little bit closer. Alem suffers there. Not quite sure what the second fight was. They just saw the shoulder. Maybe he swung around at the second, but Shaiko is the next. But he takes him out. Hits him with the Pokeball over on the cover as Blue becomes the next point of pressure, but the Clash is going to keep them at bay. Nath finds Rafale on the split. It's all kind of boiling down onto Church, with Secretly trying to find his way in to offer a little bit of support. Shaiko is buried down the back behind the bar, and they're going to see if they can sneak it in, but with Alem's causing problems for Secretly, they can't quite focus on the take on Shaiko that they need to do. Somehow pops the shot in midst of electricity, but Bride has a bit of cover. There's another second body down. Secretly hasn't quite been able to lock it off. It's a 1v1, but Nath might not be aware of that. Sees the Clash and is just going to see if he can put themselves into a closer situation. But look at the timer. He's going to have to try and play this to perfection. That's the worry. Can't get the angle. And Alems is just running for everything. No!
2 times he gets the knife, 2 times he fails to actually get the shot there. Actually, the whole coaching staff is there. Katu, Bios, and Igume. So I just thought it was Shatu and Bios, but Eagle Maze is also there, so everybody is up there. And as I know Eagle Maze best, he was very animate about that win. You know, the arms went up in the air, and he's like, he's almost more happy about the round being won than the players in that case.
I mean, that's it. The people from the Netherlands, they don't usually express themselves on such a grandiose scale as raising their arms and cheering. It's very subdued, unless
you're Eagle Maze.
Or unless you're watching the F1.
That's also true. Also can get very animate. Either way, just again, a very close round, however, you have to say, because it was a one-on-one effectively. They weren't really aware of that, but again, you couldn't have gone for the plant there because the Clash was still there. The only thing you could have done is try and go for the challenge, which Nave tried to do. Maybe a little bit too late. Maybe if he didn't try to go for the plant and it was just trying to challenge the Clash instead, would have been able to actually get a third knife out in that time span and actually get the shot down onto the feet or the legs. Either way, 3-0. BDS is extending their lead heavily. Of course, we don't know if this is going to be the tone in the entire match, because Na'Vi will still have to go to the defense themselves. And to be fair, 2 of these rounds did come down to 1v1s, which were won on the back of time. So if Na'Vi speed up just a little bit here, they might be able to just take that last little benefiting factor that Na'Vi BDS have out of their hands.
Now, as they go back over towards the top floor, they're going to see if they can, I guess, try and pull something away from this, because Na'Vi haven't been so impossibly far away, but that last line, that last thing that they need to try and pull out of the defenders hasn't quite been able to connect in the way that they want to. Secretly making very quick work of the wall as bullets fly through, but nothing that the Maverick is contending with or to. As they try to, again, formulate an approach. Club, it is hefty. That's the easiest way of putting it, and it's a step-by-step basis even now, and that's what the first step is.
You just see as well, just a mute being brought. They know the Maverick is on the board. They know the Maverick will be played. Stoke here tries to take the gunfight, but will be losing the first scuffle. However, has the adrenaline surge to put him back up to about 99 HP. Of course, a little bit more with the armor system. Hatch gets spotted though. Alems gets the first, and Doki again goes down. Only now realizes it though, as he is still active on the angle, waiting to be peeked by the second member as the drones are spotting him out, and thus he decides to drop to safety. As Blur was waiting for him to go for the second fight.
That was such tricky timing there. The flash just popped off, but it already lined up. The shot just had to click and make sure that trigger pulls at the right time. There is still this hefty setup around the other side. Renshiro is underneath too, which does cause a bit of worry for the Maverick, who's trying to keep a bit of control here. They're going to see if they can force out Shaiko from underneath, who's just going for wide peaks here. Sees the fight, tries to take it through. That is to work. And drops it around the side. Shaiko is tearing, and that's the big worry right now. We highlighted them at the beginning of the game, Shaiko and Doki, as 2 huge fraggers, but 2 unfortunately different days so far, at least. Doki hasn't quite found a body yet, and Shaiko can't stop finding them.
You don't want to challenge Shaiko on these long angles. You know he's going to be finding you no matter what shotgun or a scope he uses. Either way, the push seems to be coming down from the construction now. A grenade is being tossed in. The ADSs have been wasted, but the nitro comes through, forces them back just a little bit. It buys you a couple of seconds here as a grenade comes in, but the shot right after Blur is able to respond to at least one. And now two players of BDS are stuck in the red stairs.
That's the way to look at where Shaiko's gone now. He's currently at the top of rafters with the cross angles. They can't quite enter or open it without being shot from the side. Unless Blur does that, finds him, goes huge. Now they're seeing if they can spray towards the power position down on the back of the red stairs. Through the money and round the split as they try and stick the diffuser, but they're just playing the baiting and waiting game. LMs though, sick of that game, drops the man. 5 seconds yet again. They're really low on time. It's a 2 versus nobody as LMs locks it off. And sure, I said Shaiko is having a great game, but I believe LMs is now 7-1.
Yeah, that's it, right, with BDS. Back in the day, we used to say, well, you know, if Shaiko falls, then the whole team is not going to be able to perform too much. And, you know, we don't really want to say that anymore. Of course, teams have superstar players, but nowadays, if you look at BDS, every single member on that team performs when the other one doesn't. Like, they like when one falls, the other one catches them up and just ups their performance just a little bit. With the addition of Brede, I believe it was the man who had the most clutches over the last year. The team truly became a superpower on its way to try and finally win a title. They got so close on the 6th major, just a singular round, and they would have been in the grand final. And who knows how it would have gone against Team 1. But now, they're trying to be the first ones to secure themselves for the major of November. Currently on 11 points, and Na'Vi currently in 5th with 7. Shows you the distance between just making it and not making it. Shaiko, beautiful shot.
Ooh, spicy.
It's a very spicy shot he put up there. Either way, BDS. This one was a little bit, you know, more comfortable for them, but this round and the next site they have, those were the 1v1s that they just barely won out. They need to make sure. Oh, that's unfortunate. Might need a second impact to get that fixed. Wonder if they find out. If someone checked the action. Come on. No, hasn't seen it yet. He might just not know.
I just don't care. Maybe he only wanted half of it open.
Now he sees.
And now he's frustrated. Pings it off. Yep, I mean, sometimes these things happen. To get the bat.
Might move Renshiro over. He still has 2 impacts, so he might just quickly go in and destroy it. As again, the first scuffle, Doki taking a bit of damage, instantly heals himself back up to almost full. That has basically been the main use of that adrenaline surge, just to get him up to full HP. Doesn't matter what anybody else needs in that case, because he needs to find these first initial frags.
Now, as Nath is out trying to put some pressure onto the windows, but not in a position where he's in any immediate danger, you still have a lot of BDS confidently playing a large section of the map. Unfortunately, that wall hasn't fallen
Middle.
this time round.
I think it's left in the middle. That was still left open, or was it? No, it's still open up. Okay, so they have opened it up now. Just the graphics on the top, you know, there's still a bit of reinforcement left there. Kind of gave it away there. Either way, camera's being taken out. And you can't say anything about the pace that Na'Vi is putting up, because they're opening up the walls at extreme pace. Just so quickly. However, it's just that everything that comes after, BDS just seem to have a little bit up on it. That could be the kill onto Brede, but he moves back into cover. No, he does not. That's the kill from below. Doki picks him up, and that's the clash removed from the board. A very big, impactful kill there.
Well, LMs has gone on a bit of a walkabout underneath as he did before at this point, but with the clash gone, and most importantly with Doki being able to find this entry, maybe that player, that 5th person, showing up as this entry is something that might help them out, because how many of these rounds have been Na'Vi with 1 player left in a 1 versus 1 or a 1 versus 2? It's not that they are entirely struggling in this 4-0, it's that they're getting close, but there's just one more hurdle. They've been able to take a hurdle out first. The spray comes round and they find the second. Doki with a double gets a Lems, gets a bit more control. Now it's down to 3 remaining BDS players. All of them have found their way into sight and the sites that they held before. Shaiko was able to usually do a little bit of damage over the gym equipment, but is rotating round. Doubles up in a fight with Rafal there for a second, but with Renshiro trying to offer a little bit more support. Well, no impact to try and drop. That is the idea. Instead, just drop the player, drop the second, and keep getting aggressive. There's one more. It's the 3rd with Rafal getting it. Suddenly it's a 2 versus 1 versus 1. Doki couldn't find his way into this game before. Suddenly in a 1 versus 1 ace the situation, an ace to bring Na'Vi into their first round. But Rafal played this game before. Ring around the rosies. Doki has no intention of playing that. He's going to play on the diffuser instead. The pings are coming through. Looks for the back of the backpack. The fight comes through. Doki's driving it, looking for the ace. Round the side of the bed. There's the mattress. The dance, and it's an ace for Doki!
From 0 to hero, Doki manages to get the ace here in this round, literally from 0 kills onto 5. And that secures them the first round. Na'Vi able to at least get the 1 attack on the board. Almost seemed like it was going south there. Shaiko, as his walls being opened up with the Selma, manages to pick up a triple kill onto the Jacuzzi balcony. And if you're a Na'Vi fan, if you're a Na'Vi fan at that moment, you're like, oh no, not like this. You know, everything is going so well. And suddenly we find ourselves in a 1v2 situation. Doki, of course, picking up the quad kill and then ending it up with the ace there, allowing Na'Vi to have that 1 round. You never know how important that round will be once you go over to the second half. And now, as we are in Church Arsenal, BDS need to find just 1 more.
Now
This grenade started it off.
Oh yeah. Well, I posed the question. I was like, is Doki showing up going to be the thing that drives them? And apparently it was, but not in the way that I thought it would be, like a teamwork building thing, but in a way where he just killed everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, that also counts, right? If you run around like that, then I don't think anybody's going to say no to that.
No.
Might also just help him getting warmed up now, that ace, to just start it off. Either way, we're on the bottom floor now, and Na'Vi is about to go over to the defense themselves. Just 1 more action phase they need to fire themselves through. Also, just something that stood out to me is the amount of drones that were parked by Na'Vi and the amount of double drones that were parked. Like, every single drone squad had literally one next to one another. Whereas one got taken out, they somehow didn't spot the second one on BDS's side, and you know, that made sure that they still had the information to give away. However, BDS still 3 rounds ahead. Breeday playing with the Tachanka inside the dirt, but I don't think that's going to be what Na'Vi's point of ingress will be. Instead, Doki already all the way in the bar, taking care of these cameras. We're not quite sure if there is going to be a Black Eye Valkyrie cam placed inside of the bar, giving away information now to the rest of BDS.
Well, a quick approach here across the top. As we said, the pace has been something that Na'Vi have very much been on top of. It just comes down to the fight towards the end that gets a little bit too scrappy and a bit out of their reach. They've gone 6 to pop the barb halfway down, and they're going to steadily drone their way across. They're happy and confident with the control they've otherwise pulled together. They'll probably put the pressure onto the Moto square next, where they were able to get their opening kill before, but this time the difference is there's no clash on the side of BDS. So what was an operator that, to be fair, brought it round and put it in the situation, instead Lems has decided to go gun up, and to be fair, saying all that, he is still 72. He is still having a great game. The first round, where I don't think he had a single kill, was the most recent one.
Instantly you see that Na'Vi pick up the round here. It's important that you stay consistent in your rounds and your impact. Nave made his way down onto the main stairs, looking to find the opportunity to open up the triple wall, but also knows there could be impact tricks flying over to try and mess with the Salmas that are getting tossed on. So he needs to make sure he tosses them low enough to make sure there is no direct impact to come through, and that's the first one. I don't think the impact will be reaching that one. Actually does reach that one. The second one, however, deploys, and that opens up an ankle hold that Nave can definitely use. Spots at the feet of the Maestro right there, but the second one gets tossed out. That's 2 Selmas gone, just a single one left.
And he's going to use that to make sure that they have a little bit of a crouch hold, but also that no one can be on that close side. Lem suffers in the fight next, but finds Doki through the wall. Using the MPX, as I said, he's had a big impact pretty much every single round. Shaiko, too, wants to make sure he keeps pace with his French compatriot and teammate as he stretches and drops one more. The spray of saves comes through from Moto as they look for a bit of a split. Bit of a tap and an eager way, and an unfortunate metal line in between the rotation means it's a dangerous crawl. The close grenade catches Rafal, who's removed from the fight in the fireplace. With a body still in blue behind the big utility box, it means they don't have a clear entrance because this is so problematic right now. They're spraying through, they're looking for the fight and hoping to swing around, but with 10 seconds left, whatever they do, they've got to go hard with it. Dropped in the fire, that is one more burn. Alems and Shaiko a piece to wrap it up, and BDS find a 5-1 half.
Rotation not working out properly then for them there. Able to burn one, of course, Breeday with a big DP28 ready to pick them up. And it's unfortunate, but, you know, you use the first Selma, got Impact Trick from above, creates a foothold. You then use the second one, which also gets Impact Trick, but then the third starts popping. But you didn't, like, they didn't toss it high enough, which made sure that, you know, when it deployed into the second deployment phase, you could actually shoot it out from the openings that have been made on the top and below of it. So, as a result, the breach denied, and they were forced deep into the armory. BDS now lead 5-1. 4 rounds ahead of them, going over to the attack. And now Shaiko's on the Finka. We saw what kind of damage he can do last week. Doki, of course, had needed a little bit of time to get warmed up on that Finka. Now over to the Aruni to play the P10 Roni himself. Let's see what Shaiko can do.
Na'Vi now have some big benefits playing into their favor. They have the sort of map control of pace. They have their setups they can build behind. And they know that although it's a 5-1 score, it's been close on a lot of these rounds. It's not really been coin flip sort of close in some of the situations. I will say in the 1 versus 1s, BDS's player still has a little bit to work with, though they've still got to be good to make it happen. If Rafal hadn't done the rotations he would have, then they would have lost that round. If Alems had played the Clash slightly worse, then they would have lost that round. It's still down to the player playing well, though. But Na'Vi don't have that stress and that pressure of having to push. They don't have that 6th man this time technically working against them, which is the clock. Is it something that can be the difference, and are BDS going to make sure that they don't even really see the end of it?
At least quick work being made here by BDS to start opening up rotation possibilities across the first floor, as well as the drone game being strong, making sure they have the opportunity to quickly clear out every single position they can be in. The big trouble now, however, is the fact that there is a Mew Gemmer that stops them from truly droning Jacuzzi. Everyday will be opening up a small hole, allowing him to breach and go through, but the hunt on Doki will only just be started at that moment. They don't have a clue yet. He's up here. The drones, well, they cannot really reach into construction either, so as he just falls back towards CCTV cache, we'll still feel relatively safe around here.
Now they are still droning out CC. You can see some of that influence. Nath is going to try and hold it above. Doki paused for a second inside lounge and then made sure that they could go even further down with that body there in that situation. They don't want to get entirely caught out, so it's down to now Nath to see if he can waste as much time as possible up here or go unchecked. Shaiko is on a bit of a search here. So far, it's just him up on the top. He's dropping the mute jammers, but Brede looks like he's about to enter with Alems doing a bit of a clear in parallel underneath as they saunter and sashay their way across. The C4 isn't going to be thrown as of yet.
There it goes, I think. No, he still has it in pocket, never mind.
Still has
I thought he threw it, but...
I think he was waiting for it to get entirely opened.
Yeah, probably. Just so he could get it through, you know, but they also know that. You hear the Velcro rip, and you're not going to be, if you're in your state of mind, open up the full window in that case, make it easier for them to land that Nitro. Either way, BDS, they started to open up onto the site by using Buck to create some verticals. Still a minute left on the clock. We still have a roamer that has been unchecked for, so we don't know how Nath will play into that one. Was it Nath? I think it was Nath.
Nath was.
Back on site now.
He was. He's
all back on site.
He snuck down. He was the one that was backpedaling with the C4. But they haven't really cared for that now. 40 seconds. Let's see if BDS can push on. It's a 5 versus 5. Na'Vi pulled themselves back. They didn't want to entirely throw themselves into the situation. The grenade doesn't quite hit it, but Shaiko is going to open up a hole for his next one to fall through. There's pressure coming over the back of Secretly as well on Blue Box. It's all over the side. There it is. And it just scrapes and scratches the head. Secretly is under immense pressure, sprayed through low. Rafal inside Moro with Alems doubling up for a second of his own. Puts them into a tight situation. Dropped over the back. Doki strikes around the side. Shaiko gets it back, but Doki is still on the board. Can't get one more though. Shaiko down the center. It's all down to Blur. Suddenly, as they've cleared their way through and taken a great pinch here on the Moto side. There's one watching the swing round. It's a fight and Blur finds it. Puts himself in a 2 versus 1. The reveal on where he is made even more revealing as he sprays, hoping that they would lean back into that. They did not. The flash canisters to buy themselves some time and some hope is sprayed through, doesn't quite connect, and they're going to go a little bit wider, a little bit more of a spray. Again, they know that they know where he is, so he's instead hoping that they try and get aggro and swing into the fight here. 20 seconds. And he's looking to see if he can find a way through. The first is on the Moto door, the second is on the site itself, doesn't see either, as BDS put themselves onto map point.
Seeing you, Mace, there. You see him on the background there. Either way, I think the difference between the usage of the adrenaline and I really hope that after we had a Finka segment, that Jess and Fresh will be highlighting this. As we go to a timeout, I get a lot of time to talk about this.
You do.
The difference we see between Na'Vi and BDS is Na'Vi used all 3 of their Finka surges, Adrenaline surges, every single round to heal Doki back up to full HP, not in an execute where a smoke was not present. What you saw here from BDS, as soon as the execute started, you saw Adrenaline surge get popped. They start pushing in. You have that less recoil you can use to win these gunfights out, but you can also move quicker through barbed wire, across from any other negative effect that might hit you. But what you also saw is that Shaiko still had 3 at the start of the execute. And when a player got down inside of blue, as soon as they went for the plant, quickly popped another one. He got back up. That's suddenly a 3v1 again instead of the 2v1 you would have otherwise played out. So with that, you use the Adrenaline surges in the team's advantage rather than just the fragger's advantage.
It's tricky for Na'Vi in their current situation. This is 2 games on the trot that then sort of being knocked around on. They don't quite seem that insurmountable force that is so close to securing themselves to so many accolades and so many things of safety, whether it's EU finals, whether it's SI next year, whether it's next season. It's on the brink of the door. And that's one of those stressful situations, because when you start to lose, when you start to suffer at this moment in time, when you're so close to securing so much stuff, those losses feel heavier. They feel like it's more weight for some teams. You have to try and rebuild around that. You have to try and recapitulate around that.
All right. Potentially the last round here. BDS on the attack. It's bar and stage. Now, we have seen some plant spots, mainly behind the black box that is currently being shown here with the evil eye right next to it. The other one would be down in the south. Is in the corners of either bar or stage, whichever one you manage to find yourself in first. And that's going to be a heavy top 4 hole, as you can see. Some of the Na'Vi members creating the rotations to make sure they hold on to the gym and bedroom, which is quite logical because a lot of the flooring is destructible here, so there's a lot of opportunities to try and hold the site from above. However, the big danger comes in on the actual stage. There is no direct line of sight you can use for that, except maybe the hatch inside the construction. So if construction falls out of your control and you have too many resources upstairs, then suddenly it's going to be very hard for you to try and stop a plant from happening.
Curious to see how this setup starts to come across, because it is one that has been described as, well, to paraphrase, pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's one where now, for the first time, we might see somebody who's been able to do some research and reconnaissance on ways to break it through, because it's fresh, it's new, it's ideas, it's Siege, baby. And one of my favorite things is not only seeing how teams apply themselves to new sites, new metas, and new potentials, but also how teams start to try to break those apart. How long does it take an idea to become something where there's counter ideas? That conversation of brains between development and destruction is, for me, the nature of Siege, my favorite thing about it. And we get to see a team that is pretty good at that go up against a team who's pretty good at devising new holds and fresh ideas.
Shaiko is very well aware of the players that are inside and secretly gets taken out first. Saves, finds a refrag though, but the site itself has been opened up by just a grenade from Rafal. There's a second player though, close around the door. Shaiko is well aware, still has a grenade in pocket he could use to try and dislocate the player itself. So quickly goes back on the drone. That has been pre-placed there since literally second one of the round. Knows exactly where they are at all times, as Alems quickly gets spotted a couple of times due to a Prisma. He's not going to be moving around too much, not give Na'Vi an opportunity to go for that frag. As a flashbang actually activates the effect again.
Now they have some curious eyes here towards the top. They're trying to clear themselves this pocket of space to make sure that they don't suffer as they go through it. Opening open and dropping, or attempting to drop. Yep, the claw there, but it's Doki that actually takes the fight there against Shaiko. All the way from behind the bar, served up a can of...
Yeah. I was going to say, where are you going to go with this? But either way, they managed to find the Electroclaw eventually, and the opening up onto the stage will be there. 3Day is going to be preparing himself to go for a potential plant as Doki falls. Alems picks up the kills. And with 40 seconds left on the clock, Renshiro is trying to take that top floor control. As I said, construction, the hatch, that is how you counter the stage plant. Blur is trying to hold on to control for that, but the drone is giving away the opportunity, giving away the information that one is playing quite close. And Renshiro, all he needs to do is to make sure that no one is using that hatch. So he can safely do that from the side of Cash, as Lems is trying to put some more pressure down onto the actual side from below. Spots out a player, but doesn't quite get the kill yet. Nave on low HP, though, in 14 seconds, while Brede is forced to go in as he gets taken out by Saves.
Saves with a great take there, and pre-fired bullets around the side. Nets and secures one more, and Shiro hopped down from the top, tries to find the first fight. They slipped away. Saves, locks it off. Na'Vi find their second round of the game after the team talk, and well, where can they go from here? 4 more to bring themselves to OT. It's a long road. It's a tough road.
Yeah.
But they've taken the first steps.
They've taken the first steps. There's still 4 more big steps to take, however. As their contested about the site to go to, it seems to be CCTV Cash. A site that every Siege player in the universe will probably know by heart due to how often it gets played in either your ranked, unranked, or competitive matches. Everybody knows ways to get around the Heartbreach and Naya, for example. The Maverick is being brought out, and you see Nave, you know, it's not even going to be bothering to bring a Bandit or a Kate. No, just bring the Mute, just to stop the drones from happening. Because the drones, the information is more important than the wall at this very moment. Because if they do not know where you are, they don't know where to throw their grenades or where to be entering from. So, as you see, those Mute Jammers probably not being used on the main wall.
Nath is doing some work underneath in Lounge, opening up the flat angles between their, I believe, Stock and Bar. Did a couple twos. They have a little bit more pressure that they can apply, whether they come around on a roam on the backside and want to find a way around on a rotate rather than forcing themselves via Lounge, or just that little bit of extra width that you can play into later on. That is what that preparation underneath does and brings them. And that's what Doki is seemingly going to want to lean into. There it is. It's not... oh, they have the rotation on the far right. They have that option and that chance.
Now, Jacuzzi Balk, of course, has been reinforced off. Would require a bit of utility to open up. Brede most likely will be responsible for that, as the Maverick is probably going to be opening up onto the direct CCTV wall. Maybe actually they don't even open it. Maybe they just use the Excaliburs to open up onto the garage walls if they are reinforced days, because I believe that I spotted them soft.
Heading all the way to the top to see if they can prep themselves for the pressure that they want to apply onto CC wall first of all. Lems has gone very wide. Playing around strips, he's going to steady himself and see if he can get behind the hold that's behind the push on the other side. He's droning and moving himself in here to see if he can spot Saves and put some pressure. As I said, they have an idea. They have the drone inside Bar that was giving them an idea of this is what they want to do. This is the hold that they have on the extension underneath there. If we can catch them out here, we might be able to isolate a player that's otherwise supposed to be the surprise for us. Saves. How long until they know that they're under pressure, and what are they going to do with that information?
Not truly under big pressure as of yet. Still playing around, and Lems has joined the main strike force. Playing inside the billiards is not going to be the biggest threat so far, especially now if they start going in from construction. You just have to be careful that it doesn't sneak up the main stairs and go inside the bedroom where he can be an actual big threat. So that's something to keep in mind as Shaiko spots out a player, knows the second one is around, tries to shoot and gets a little bit of damage down onto Nave, but not quite the kill that they're looking for yet to catapult themselves into this round.
Yeah, it was an attempt at taking care of Doki, who went for a rotate there, but met Nath first. Quick reactions made him pull back, and in that situation, there it is, Saves under a bit of pressure. He's eyeing up the curiosity of the opposite stairs, but instead decides to move a little bit further along. Instead, eyeing up the fight here onto the door, drops a Lems. Great read, get intel, great spray, sees the drone on the back of the bar and removes it. Now, as he finds himself in a bit of a bastion of safety, BDS are in the tough position. Do we just trust our watch on the intel, or do we go for the push? It seems like plan A is push, as they get the opening here on Doki.
And I might just leave one drone behind here, as you see, to have some flank watch. As Shaiko gets a great grenade kill. Blur waiting in the corner, though, on CCTV. He could be coming in big here, as the plan could be coming down. Saves, trying to stop any of the Excaliburs to go through, trying to halt their progress as they want to breach inside construction. There's an extra flame drone is being set up here and a new grenade being tossed in. They will know that Saves is going to be coming up from the back as Secretly gets the kill to Renshiro.
The spray through the wall is about to come through. The impact opens it up, and there's the first, there's the second, there's almost a third! Saves is going for it, but he slips away.
Oh,
he finds it anyway!
Sprays it through the wall at a very random, well-chosen moment there. Right through the head, but a great flank from him. And I thought it was a flank drone, but I believe it was not being watched at that very time. Because he managed to sneak up, he managed to get inside the logistics and pick up a triple kill to secure the round here for Na'Vi, and that is 2. 3 rounds in total, but 2 of the comeback they need to make. 3 more to go. And they are going back to the bottom floor. Church Arsenal to come up next. BDS. Just need a singular one to put themselves on 14 points. They are already confirmed for the EUL finals. They don't need to qualify for that anymore. Just the 6th November Major, and with that, the 6th Invitational. That's on the line for them. And I believe if they get 3 points, well, they might already be confirmed for the 6th Invitational, considering that they only needed 8th place or above in this stage. You know what? I'm just gonna find out whether or not they confirm themselves with a win here today.
You do that. I'll talk about what else is ahead of them, because we've seen sometimes teams are a little bit of a back. This is, wait.
Beautiful.
Amazing. And as I was saying, we've sometimes seen teams are in a bit of a deficit, and although they start this meteoric comeback, BDS just need one thing to go right for them. They just need one. Maybe it's a 1 versus 1 trade. Maybe it's a bit of a misstep from Na'Vi that they can punish. Yep. Either way, it just takes one thing, 1 round, 1 sweep for them to be able to lock it off. So everything Na'Vi does from this point on has to be brave, courageous, and unfortunately, pretty much perfect. Unless BDS start making mistakes. Not potentially having all of the eyes on a flank drone, whatever happened there, could be deemed a mistake at this point, but they haven't really been full of too many this game, so they are still well within their abilities to lock this out.
Just quickly checked, if BDS managed to win this, they put themselves 9 points ahead of G2, who are currently in 9th place, and 9 points ahead of Secret, who are currently in 8th. So as they need 8th place, they just need to get more points than them, of course. With 4 more play days to go, there's 12 points to be gained for both those teams, which means that they can qualify themselves for the 6th Invitational at the earliest of the next Monday.
Now Lems goes for the clear here across the top. They're droning it out and moving with a bit of pace. There's not an Na'Vi body here to stop it entirely this time round, and it seems like they're aware of that. Sure, Na'Vi sort of played with a couple of mute jammers before, but there was more dedication. There was at least players still holding on, and they tried to bat against them. And sometimes it's nice to actually wait for the first wave of drones, get spotted, and then pull back. Because if you can drop that drone, great, but better still, they've got to send in more to try and find you. It wastes a lot more time. Na'Vi instead are going to sort of not rest on their laurels, but defend them with a bit of a tighter aplomb here as they lock themselves down towards the site itself. Let BDS do the work above and see if you can punish them elsewhere. The Tachanka's back on the board for the 2nd time today across this game. Is it going to have a similar effect in the hands of Blur?
Now the 2 pass near New Blue will definitely be stopping any drone advantage that BDS might have, because you're just not going to be able to get them in there. And there is currently a player around there. It Saves, the man of the hour who managed to get the 3K in the last round, at least at the very final moments. And as he continues to fall back and take out drones and deploy more pest, it's going to be even harder for BDS to try and approach from that side. So Lamps, well, they seem to be a bit worried about a potential C4 to be tossed up, and rightfully so, because it is, of course, this site where, you know, in the kitchen everything is destroyable. They try and get some impacts out, they try and get some C4s out, everything to keep that kitchen hatch closed.
Saves, opens it up, takes care of Shaiko down onto Oil, and gets a very big opening pick. More bullets are flying either side. That's being watched. He just saw the cap of a man, but unfortunately doesn't get the pick back up. Renshiro nods his cap, drops it, and drops the player as well. Now is able to try and get a bit of a handle onto the utility down inside Blue. But look, less than 30 seconds left. They've got to try and push themselves down. They've opened up kitchen hatch. That's the idea of the pushing the plant, but with Blur doing this,
oh, beautiful.
It means the drop is tough. A great grenade from Rafal gets a bit of the control over Church. They might try and push their way around and away from the fire that's otherwise taking them now as they go for the drop. Tried to plant, picked up a drone instead. Now that puts them in a bit of a tricky situation. The BDS lock off either way. And the joy of Renshiro is clear across every camera but his own as they get themselves locked in and happy. They're all together. I'm sure the fans are happy as well. Shaiko, go join 'em, mate, because you pull yourself 3 points.
Yeah, they put themselves up 3 points. That puts them on 14 in total now. And as I said, 9 points ahead of the place, which they need to finish to get to the 6th Invitational. So next Monday, they have the opportunity to lock themselves in for the biggest of them all, or as Milos would say, the granddaddy of them all. But before we head back to the desk, let's toss it to a quick ad break.